Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the IYI Emerging Careers webinar series. I'm so excited about today's webinar, and it's on computer science. My name is Joshua Long, and I serve as Senior Educational Content Manager for the Indiana Youth Institute. And before we get started, I'm just going to talk briefly about the Indiana Youth Institute. We have one goal that never changes. We do it for the kids. We believe that every child counts. When children experience the conditions to thrive, to reach their full potential, our families, communities, and state benefit. We believe in the power of collaboration and partnership, knowing that the ever-changing issues faced by children and youth cannot be tackled in silos. And so with that, I am so excited to introduce our next guest. Her name is Jenna Garcia. She is the Director of Educator Success at Next Tech. And Next Tech is a nonprofit committed to making sure that all young people in Indiana, regardless of family income or social background, have exposure to computer science and access to computer science education. She is a former teacher. She's worked for code.org and was a solutions architect for Oracle. Jenna, thank you for being on with us today. Can you just talk a little bit about yourself, your journey, and Next Tech?
Sure, absolutely. Thanks for having me here. So I come to computer science education by way of being a student myself. I happened into computer science my freshman year in high school, fell in love with it, ended up getting my degree in computer science, worked as a technical consultant for Deloitte, then went into the classroom where I taught high school computer science for 5 years in New York City public schools and Chicago public schools, and then went back to a small startup company that got bought out by Oracle, where I was a software developer, and then ended up at code.org and now at Next Tech, where my passion of computer science and education are finally together in the same job. So that is me in a nutshell. And then at Next Tech, we are really unique in the computer science education space in Indiana. One, we are committed to computer science only. We love STEM, we love STEAM, we love all of the other tangentially appropriate subject areas, but we care most about computer science. And so that's our sole focus is computer science at Next Tech, which makes us unique. And then we also care most about people in Indiana, our students and our teachers in Indiana. We do not branch out outside of the walls of our state. And so that makes us really unique. We work with teachers, we train teachers, we offer professional development. We are offering certification courses where we train teachers to be able to get their computer science certification, no matter if you're a kindergarten through 12th grade teacher. And then we offer opportunities for students. So for high school students, we have a virtual conference that we do every fall, where it's basically like a virtual field trip where you get to hear from the best in the industry, and they can tell you how cool computer science is and help answer questions about different opportunities and jobs and companies throughout the state. We offer programming competitions. We offer, we currently just launched our annual, I think it's our 4th annual CS for Good competition. So students kindergarten through 12th grade are asked to come up with projects that are use computer science for the good of humanity. So whether that's for the good of your house, to make your household run better, to make your school run better, to make your community or even the whole world run better. So it's a pretty open-ended project, which is really fun and exciting.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm sure we'll get into some more of that in detail later. But let's just start by framing a couple things. The first thing is computer science is a term that's like, I don't know, it's really broad. And I think what we're trying to do with this webinar series is equip youth workers, equip teachers with the language behind these careers that youth are saying that they're wanting to go into. So can you just give a brief description of what computer science means as a career path, as a class, as a...
Yeah, absolutely. So you're right. It's a very ambiguous, large, broad, vague term. I equate it to similar when you think of like math. If a kid says, I love math, well, what kind of math do you like? Do you like algebra? Do you like geometry? Do you like statistics, right? They're all very different things. Same as science, right? When you say, I love science, or what science is your favorite, students automatically can tell you, oh, I love biology, I love chemistry, I love physics. Like they know what part they like. Unfortunately, for most adults, we never got to experience computer science as kindergarten through 12th grade students ourselves. And so we don't know all the different components and segments in computer science like a student would know within math or science. And so in computer science, when people think of computer science, they mostly think of programming or coding. And it's a huge portion of the field in the industry. But there is also things like cybersecurity or data science, or even web design or graphic technology, right? So there's this huge, broad array of options within the field. And so I think really leaning into, oh, you like computer science or you like technology, that's great. And you want your job or career to be in that. But what else? What else do you want to do? So often when I talk to really young kids, right, like kindergarten through fifth graders, and I say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And Josh is like, oh, I'd love to be a soccer player. I'm like, great. You can be a soccer player and use computer science to make you a better soccer player, right? You're going to need to use data science. And if you can take in all the data that is gathered about you and have artificial intelligence watch your games and really analyze who you are and what you do as a player, you can become a better player because you can say, oh, I'm really weak when I'm on the right side of the field or whatever, right? And so really leaning in and asking what the students like outside of, I want to do a job in computer science. There is literally a job that uses computer science in every single field in every single industry. So a really unique thing about computer science is computer science exists to solve problems for everything else. And the only time that computer science solves problems for itself is to make things easier in other fields and industries. And so that would be my recommendation, is really just figure out what the student likes and then start researching, how does computer science relate to veterinary school or being a veterinarian, right? And you can find things like that. I had a student one year, he really liked web design in my class, and he wanted to be a radio host. And so what he did was he went to a really small school in Illinois, and he found some local radio stations that had some like subpar websites, and he built them new websites. And he said, hey, I built you a website, I'd love to work for you. And they're like, okay. And so it was like his foot in the door, right? So he never ended up really using his interest in web design and computer science in his full job. So he ended up becoming a radio host. But it helped him get his foot in the door in his like true passion. So it's a really cool, like flexible industry.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things in there. I was taking notes to ask questions about what you said later. But I think one is, at least before I really knew what computer science was, when I thought computer science, I thought like Mark Zuckerberg in that movie about him, where he just like stayed up all night coding, right? Where you're just like, you're thinking in binary, and it's just like unaccessible to people that don't understand. And so I think that connection is right. Like computer science, technology is inevitable, right? And so if you're able to connect anything that they're wanting to do with computer science, you're just setting them up more for success. And so kind of going into that, we obviously want to help folks better understand computer science, but also I think people should know that Indiana is actually doing a really great job with computer science. And because of that, educators and youth workers have all the resources in the world to be able to understand this and to be able to help students with it. So can you just give kind of an overview of where Indiana's at with computer science?
Yeah, absolutely. And I will come into this right now in full transparency. I live in Illinois. And when I left code.org, who is a national organization essentially doing a very similar thing as Next Tech, trying to bring computer science to all K-12 students nationally. When I looked at the landscape of the United States, one of the few states I was willing to accept a job in computer science education in was Indiana, because Indiana is actually doing a spectacular job. And so every year annually, the big they, it is, let me see, I'll tell you who it is, who the big they is. It is Code.org CSTA, which stands for Computer Science Teachers Association, and ESEP, which stands for Expanding Computing Education Pathways. They come up with a huge hundreds page state of computer science in the nation. And then they break down that information into the landscape report for each individual state. And so I'll share my screen right now, if that's okay. And kind of just walk you through what they share. The next landscape report, unfortunately, is going to come out in about 2 weeks. So we don't have that data yet. So this data is the 2021 data that we have. Let me see. All right. Josh, can you see that okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. So this is kind of what it looks like. This first page just talks about what the state of computer science education nationally is, and talks about just the national picture. And then pages 3 through 4 talk about Indiana specifically. So as you can see, the percentage of public high schools offering computer science has been going up each year. And then the participation in high school courses, the dark color is the student population in Indiana, and then the pink color is who's enrolled in computer science. So we have almost identical student population to enrolled in CS population across the state, which is spectacular and a really, really hard thing to do. But and then the biggest one we need to work on in Indiana is just getting girls in computer science. And a lot of that is representation. And so if you are a youth worker or a teacher who's female, don't shy away from computer science and say, oh, look, Josh is over here and he knows a lot about computer science. I'm going to have him tell you about computer science. Really lean into the fact that you are a female and you are someone that they know and respect and love, and say, hey, I don't actually know a lot about computer science, but I'd love to learn more about it with you, right? Maybe it's something I would like to do, because that's really, really important for our young students to see that representation in females. And then if we look at Indiana, we are one of the few states in the country that hits all of the 9 markers that Code.org, CSTA, and ESEP say are important for ensuring equitable access to computer science throughout the state. So that's including a computer science plan. It includes teacher certification, like a strong teacher certification pathway that is like easy to understand. And then that third row, which is amazing, is funding for computer science teacher professional development. So Indiana is killing it in that aspect. Governor Holcomb really understands that computer science matters, and he's putting the state's money where his mouth is, and really funding computer science, which is amazing and spectacular. And it's really showing the growth in this chart. So as you can see, we are killing it against our neighbors. We have 74% of high schools offering computer science. And that actually trickles down really nicely into the middle and elementary schools nationally for us. We are doing really well there as well. It's just that high school is a lot easier to get numbers on just because of school, like course coding and stuff. But as you can see on this average amount of jobs, computing jobs. So again, this isn't just in the tech industry. This just isn't computer science or programming jobs. This is computing jobs. So this could be, you know, a web designer for a veterinary office, right? There are an average of 6,700 computing jobs every month that are open in Indiana. And we are only graduating out 2,300 students in 2- and 4-year colleges and universities. So we are not covering that gap in any way, shape, or form. And the average salary is just under $78,000 in the state of Indiana. So, and then nationally, the national average of coverage in high schools is 51%. Indiana is at 74%. We are 11th, and we are really hoping that when this new report comes out in 2 weeks that we are going to jump up a bit on that, because we've been really working and focusing on ensuring equitable access and that every student gets computer science in the state. So anyhow, that's where we are. It's a really fun, exciting picture, and I'm glad that I was able to share it with you.
Yeah, no, that's a good, that was a good summary of a couple things. The first is that there is the need. So we started this series because we looked at some polls, the biggest one being YouGov, of what youth, what was their dream job, what do they want to do with their careers, and computer science was one of them. And so to know that this is what youth want to do, and there are a ton of jobs out there, we need people in computer science, is great. And then I also think, just specific to Indiana, what we do at the Indiana Youth Institute is we make sure that youth workers, educators, mentors, teachers have the professional development needed to thrive and be successful in their role as a youth worker. And clearly, from the computer science perspective, Indiana is providing that. Indiana has that. And so if you're a teacher and you want to support your students in computer science, there are pathways pathways for you within Indiana to be able to get that education. But so Indiana's doing a great job. Can you provide maybe some examples or some cool stories about schools or organizations in Indiana that are doing this really well, with the goal of, for the folks that are watching that maybe don't have something at their school or don't have enough of something at their school, like, here are some cool things that are happening that they can think about.
Sure. So there are, if you want to start in your school and you want to start small and you want to start in a way that isn't necessarily equitable to everyone, but just gets that, like, your toe wet in the shallow end in the pool, you could easily start like a Girls Who Code club. And it's not only girls, but it like helps improve the number of girls that come in. But you just like, it's similar if you think of like Girl Scouts or Cub Scouts, right? Something like that, where you just like eat off a little bite every week, where you get together and you learn a little bit about computer science. You could do something like that. There are also, in the state of Indiana, there are some great schools that are doing VEX robotics competitions. So you could get into that. It's a pretty low lift, low bar in terms of like getting involved in that, and then getting into the competition they're offered throughout the state. So that's a really fun thing. So just like starting a robotics club, kids generally, and it should be no surprise to anyone listening to this, kids generally like those tactile, hands-on like things that they can do. So robotics club where you're building and programming your robots to compete in different challenges is like right up kids' alleys. So those are two things you can do like in your school. Again, I say it's not the most equitable because it's usually offered before school, after school, or while students are either in other sports and clubs and activities, or when students have to go home because they just don't have the option to be able to get home later. And so we really push for computer science in the classroom. And so one really awesome thing that you could do, if you are a teacher, you could do this. If you're a youth worker, you can offer to help your local schools and districts do this, is every year, the first full week in December is Computer Science Education Week. It falls that week because it's during Grace Hopper's birthday. And so we celebrate Grace Hopper, who was one of the first computer programmers. We celebrate her and her birthday and her legacy through computer science education. And we celebrate through this activity called the Hour of Code. And the Hour of Code is literally just challenging everybody in the world to try 1 hour of computer science during that first full week in December, to say, hey, if you try this, I promise you, you're going to love it. And if you don't have computers, or if you have parents who are saying, our kids are on the devices too much at school, right? You have Chromebooks or iPads or whatever. There are tons of what are called unplugged activities. So that's not being in connected to a computer, but you're unplugged from a computer or device and you're doing activities in the classroom. So those are things like programming each other to be robots to get from my desk to the door, or there's this really fun activity, and I wish I had it, but you can make binary bracelets, or we have teachers that make binary messages for the principal on like those countdown loops that kids make with construction paper. So they make it with that, but they have binary messages on it. So each letter is one loop. And they write messages to their principal, and then the principal responds to them in binary. So that is a really cool way to get the entire school involved and show that computer science is not only fun and exciting, but it's really easy and accessible for everyone. So that's something in the Hour of Code. It's just hourofcode.com, and you can sort on grade level, you can sort on ability, you can sort on subject. So if you want to do art, like if you're an art teacher or you want to lean into, like, you have students that love art, there are art activities that you can do. And so you just sort on a bunch of different things and they'll give you activities to do for that. So that's a cool thing. And then there are, so like at Next Tech, I mentioned we offer a lot of like different opportunities throughout the school year for students. Some of them need teachers to be sponsors, but teachers is like a loose, they just need an adult that is making sure that they can submit things, because a lot of younger students don't necessarily have email addresses and stuff. So we have those opportunities in the spring. We actually, last year we started it for the first time. We did basketball madness sport, what was it? It was a stats showdown. So we gave students statistics and they had to come up with algorithms of what their top 10 teams were for the year, for the NCAA competition for March Madness. And then they would get points based on what they ranked the different teams as, strictly based on the statistics, not on like their love for a specific team or their like knowledge of a specific player on a team that year. So anyhow, we have like lots of really cool things that students can do. And then in the summer, there are lots of student opportunities throughout the summer. We release a annual like summer opportunities for students catalog that comes out like in April and then gets updated as additional things get added. But then there's like tons of just awesome free curricular options out there that teachers and youth workers can lean into. So obviously I worked for code.org, but code.org is an awesome free resource. CodeHS is a really great option for higher level students, like in high school. There are things like for little kids, there's tons of little like apps or websites. So like Microsoft does a lot of them. There's Lightbot, which is this little robot that walks around on blocks and he has to light up the blocks. So there's like all these fun, like exciting activities. And actually, as I'm saying all that, all of the companies who make these apps and websites and fun things that are easily accessible and free also like showcase these things in the Hour of Code website. So if you try out Hour of Code, you don't even need to be in a school. If you do it with like youth kids after school or on the weekends, and the kids try the Hour of Code Lightbot activity and they're like, this is really fun, they will show you, well, we actually have our own website and we have an app that has, 800 levels if a kid actually wants to continue with Lightbot. So those are some like really
No, that was great.
All encompassing of like where a lot of resources live.
Yeah, and it seems like we serve a lot of educators, but we also serve after school folks, mentors, etc. And for the most part, it seems like everything you said would be possible for an after school program or a Boys and Girls Club or a YMCA. I was thinking about Girls Who Code. Even Hour of Code can be done in sort of those external youth center type organizations. So that's nice to see that it's not just necessarily in schools. And I think,
oh yeah, absolutely. And even parents, like if you're a parent listening to this, even if you're an educator, take it home to your own kids. Like it's cool. I mean, I test a lot of stuff out on my own children. So
That's great. And so with that, at the beginning of the webinar, you mentioned certification and helping teachers get certified. The first question is that only for teachers? And then second, what would be the process to doing that? Because you mentioned so many really great ideas. And I think for folks that are interested, they would want a place to start. And it seems like that certification might be, or maybe there's something better. But basically, if a youth worker educator is interested in learning more, becoming computer science literate, wanting to start doing some of these activities, where should they start?
sure. So, okay, so that's like a multi-pronged conversation. I will say that the CS certification prep that we offer is best tailored to high school teachers who have a really strong need for like that foundational computer science at the high school level. I say that because it is not like this fun, exciting, let's program each other to be robots test. It is the Indiana State Praxis Computer Science Educator test.
Okay,
so
then
that is like a standardized,
yeah. So
awful test.
two categories then, I guess.
Yeah.
If there are teachers that are interested in going that more serious route, what's the best place to start and how to start? And then follow-up question, if I am, say, a third grade teacher and I just want to learn about how to start incorporating computer science individually, but also into other subjects, where should I go for that type of professional development?
Sure. So I would say, just plugging Next Tech, you can actually go to the state's website, IDOE, and they link to a bunch of different PD providers. We are one of the only PD providers. I don't want to say only because there might be others out there and I don't want to get in trouble, but we are one of the only Indiana PD providers that offer the certification. So if you just go to our website, nexttech.org, that's NEXT, there's only one T, ECH.org, and then go to teachers, you can say what grade band you are. You are either teach pre-K, K5, 6-8, or 9-12. You pick one of those options. And then for all of those options, we actually do offer the certification. It's just difficult. Like, I'm not gonna candy coat that it's difficult. But a really cool thing that I love, again, I live in Illinois, but I really do truly love what Next Tech is doing for Indiana. And one of the things that we ensure that we do in bringing equitable access to computer science to our students is to make sure that it's equitable for our teachers. And so all of our PD is offered at no cost to teachers, and almost all of our professional development is offered with a stipend as a thank you for attending, because we know that could take away from you doing.
Wait, just to be clear, you pay teachers to get the professional development?
Yeah, because they could be taking, like, they might have a side job and work at Petco or something, and we're taking them away from a day of work at Petco, and so we want to pay them to thank them for attending. And
no, I think that's exactly right. And at worst, it's just a thank you for trying to incorporate computer science into the classroom.
Yep. Yeah. So our stipends vary from like $100 for a one-day workshop to this summer we were offering I think it was like a $1,200 stipend for attending for a whole week. We had teachers come down to Bloomington and hang out with us for a week. Those were 283 kindergarten through 12th grade teachers that came down to Bloomington with us. So yeah, we, again, like, if we're taking them away from doing, a week of summer school, we want them to be fully compensated for that. But yeah, so I would say, even if you are like a third grade teacher wanting to figure out how to bring computer science to your students, going to our website and clicking on the K5, we offer one-day workshops. Because of the pandemic, we did pivot really quickly to virtual options. So we have in-person options, we have virtual options. We try to spread them out throughout different days and different times. So if you see something that doesn't necessarily work for you, like you're like, I could do the Monday, but I can't do the accompanying Wednesday, we can keep track of you and say, hey, that's okay, come to the second session on one of the other dates for the other workshops we offer. So we offer a whole slew of workshops. for teachers who are just getting into it. Hey, what's computer science and how do I understand it? How do I bring it to my students? All the way up to, hey, I've heard about this AI thing. Tell me more about artificial intelligence and how I can bring it to my second graders. And so we just do like lots of fun little activities, and we show you how easy it is to incorporate it into stuff you're already doing. And just a lot of computer science, right? We're inundated with it, right? Like I have a computer on my wrist right now that's been buzzing this whole time we've been talking, right? And so like we're inundated with technology and computer science. And a lot of times it's just like calling out what it is, because we don't necessarily, again, we haven't seen it as adults like when we were students. And so just calling it out and using the right vocabulary really helps bring computer science to your students and show them what it is to see if they like it or are interested in it.
Yeah, that's great. And again, just to reiterate that Indiana is, at least in the immediate Midwest, the state to be is if you want to better yourself as a education in computer science. So that's great. I think we'll wrap up by sort of turning it back over to youth. So what can educators, what can mentors, what can youth workers be doing to support students that want to go into computer science as a career or are just interested in it? And so programs, but then also like what should they be doing in high school as far as internships are concerned, or jobs? I really loved the story you told before about the student who would find bad websites and like remake them. And I just think about like, oh, that would be amazing in a college essay. That would be an amazing point in an interview to talk about, right? So just if we can turn it over kind of to the youth focus, how we can be helping and aiding students in that.
Yeah. So again, a lot of it is just like that exploration thing, right? So what you were just saying about like college essays and when you apply it to jobs, a lot of companies care less about like who you worked for and what you did for them, and more about like what you actually produced and did. And so having students, like if you work with high school students, having them start a digital portfolio where they can keep track of like little things. It could be a silly like little Tetris game that they make, right? In class, in a computer science class, have them save it. Have them keep all of their digital artifacts and things that they make in one singular place, so that when they get a question in an interview that's like, so you say you like computer science, but what do you like? What do you do? What do you build? They can easily say, oh, let me show you, right? So that would be like my number one recommendation for those high school kids, is just starting a digital portfolio. And it's actually on my dream list of professional developments to write, is how to get your students started with a digital portfolio and what to put in it. So look for that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, do you have any recommendations of websites to host those on?
I know a lot of teachers really like Google Sites, because a lot of schools are Google Classroom connected. And so if your students are already using a Google or a Gmail email address, they get Google Sites for free. So a lot of teachers use that. Otherwise, there's tons of other ones like Weebly and there's a lot of them out there. There's a lot of
I guess my bigger question was that is there something specific, or is like a Wix or even a Tumblr or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, those are all completely fine because they are easy, low lift. Nobody in like an entry level job position is going to like judge a student for using Weebly or Google Site like in their domain name. And then if a student is getting up there or wants to really own it, they can buy a domain, but it still can be hosted by those sites. Like I think it's something like 92% of websites are hosted by like the what you see is what you get web builder creators. So
yeah,
very few people build their website from scratch.
Gotcha. Yeah. And then even in thinking about the digital portfolio, I guess even from a career standpoint, there's kind of two categories with this. There's like, I'm going into something very computer science specific, or I'm going into any career and the future is just going to be a future of technology. And so it's important to have computer science background. So even if you're going into something that might not seem computer sciencey or technology driven, having that digital portfolio could be that like lever on your resume or whatever
Yeah,
that pushes you forward.
absolutely. Like if I want to be an artist, right, like a professional artist, having a digital portfolio where I can easily on my phone pull up, here are some of my favorite pieces of art that I've worked on, right? Like, why not have that available for people to show them quickly? So yeah, it's a really good thing that I think you and I probably missed the boat on, and is getting to be much more popular with high school and college age students right now, of being able to just show what they're able to do. But in terms of, I know you asked about like career paths and internships. I will say the tech industry is really hard to get into in terms of internships for younger kids. I will say, like at the college level, they're absolutely willing to like bring people in and train them, but I don't know that they are seeing like a huge return on their investment with high school students. But I will say that there's a couple of things. One, if you're going to college and you want to, I keep going back to veterinarian. I always wanted to be a veterinarian, but I was unable to dissect animals. So I figured I wasn't going to do well in veterinary school. But like, right, if you want to be a police officer, like go through all of that training and courses, but then like take some college classes in computer science, right? Like nothing you learn in computer science is going to hurt your professional outlook. Computer science is all about problem solving and creativity and just like figuring out how to fix things and make things better and operate better. And so I would recommend just taking random computer science classes if you don't want to major in it, or even minoring in computer science would be great. If you don't want to go to a four-year university or college, or it doesn't feel like it's right up your alley, two-year, there are tons of two-year technical options out there. Those are great. I know that the armed forces have lots and lots of need for and train in cybersecurity and data science. Like they train you in these things. So that's a great option. And then there's also the Code Academy, based in Indiana, right? Like they have boot camps. There are, 3 to 9 to 18-week boot camps out there, that if you find a job that interests you, you could talk to your employer to say, hey, I don't have these skills, but I'm willing to do like a 9-week boot camp to get like up to speed. A lot of companies will actually pay for you to get trained in what they need you to be trained in. You might have to sign like a 2 or 4 year contract with the company, but then you're getting trained and you're getting a job out of it. So there's lots of really great options. My husband works in the airline industry, and he often jokes like, yeah, that's cool that the pilot has a 4-year degree, but does he know how to fly the plane? Right? Like you don't necessarily need a 4-year degree to go into computer science. If you've been tinkering with computer science for years and years and building programs and websites, and your team won the national Vex robotics competition 3 years in a row, right? Like you've got some really great skill sets that you don't necessarily need to go to traditional 4-year universities for. So like there's lots of options. I think computer science is such a great equalizer for students that like those type A students that know exactly what they want to do and they know how they want to do it, and they want to just like go A, B, C, D and go like straight in order, to those students that just like never felt like they fit in and never had the right subject or area or topic that they loved, but like in the back of their head there was always something, right? I think it fits for everyone, and there's a spot for everyone in computer science. It's just a matter of teasing out where that is.
Yeah, that's great, and I think that might be a good place to wrap up. Thank you for doing this. Is there anything you want to leave the folks watching with?
My daughter just started kindergarten, and her favorite thing to tell me every day is that her teacher keeps telling her, it's okay if you didn't get it, just try again. And I feel that's very true in the world of computer science. Persistence is key and just keeping at it. If you have a student this year that you're working with as a youth worker and they love computer science and they just like go above and beyond and leave you in the dust, don't feel afraid of it, and don't pick up the baton the next time a student comes to you and says they're interested in computer science. Just keep trying. Again, give yourself grace. We never saw it as K-12 students ourselves. And so we're just in like this weird world right now where our students are much better equipped to learn and understand computer science than we are. So just keep at it, and maybe you'll even find something that you love in computer science that you didn't know existed.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you again. I definitely learned so much, and I'm just excited for Indiana and for youth workers in Indiana, because it seems like a growing space that we're at the forefront on. So thank you, and thank Next Tech for aiding in that. Yeah, so that's it for today. Again, I'm Josh Walong with the Indiana Youth Institute, and this has been our webinar series on emerging careers. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.